Hello, welcome back, everyone. We are on episode 15, which means we have five more episodes left in the season, and then a retrospective episode, which will be the theoretical 21 or epilogue episode, or whatever you want to call it. But I'm happy to announce that this is the first episode in the podcast history where I'm not sick or suffering from allergies. I know, like every episode, I've said something along those lines, where it's like, "Oh, I got a case of the sniffles. Sorry, I'm so sick. I'm so sickly. I got like no white blood cells in my body." That changes today. It's a new season, new me. So I'm very grateful for that. Very nice to be able to breathe for once. Speaking of gratitude, that's what sort of this episode's today is about. We're talking a bit about lunch tables, lunch table culture, cliques, stuff like that, but mostly it's about friends. It's the friendship episode I mentioned last week, and I'm doing something a little different for this week. As how would I say it? Usually on these I've done it a few times, but usually on these podcasts, I take a whole album as itself and analyze a few songs within that album. However, today we're gonna be talking about two artists that are very close friends of mine and have impacted my life a lot, not only through their music, but just through our interactions with each other. Uh, like on the hard work episode and such. There we go, and such again. We've talked about collections of music, usually from various artists, but this is two artists with various music uh, within there. Today we're going to be talking about the band by the namesake of Palmer Means, and we're going to be talking about Pelicans and their allies. And then we have another comic, another webtoon today. I'm a big webtoon guy. You could probably expect the rest of the season to be about webtoons, honestly. We're going to be talking about the Yomanville Gang by Jason King. If I'm correct, this comic I believe it became a webtoon original either in 2018 or 2019, but it was on webtoon canvas much sooner before that. So before we get into it, we're going to do our usual stuff. 7 to 10 p.m. Galisteo Street Cakes Cafe. We have an open mic. As I always say, I like to say it's a very beginner and friendly open mic if you're wanting to get out and share your creative ideas or poetry or art or whatever it is you create. It's a stage for that. The host is very friendly. Josh and Brycey. I bartend as well. I go up and do some poetry sometimes as well. Uh, I always welcome people to come check it out if you're wanting to get into the open mic, culture, family, and such. Or you just want to share something with the world. We take a variety of stuff. It's 7 to 10 every Wednesday. Uh, Remix, Audio Bar. We record these episodes here, 222 North Guadalupe Street, every Friday, 10 a.m. But they're also omen. They're also open from Wednesday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Dinner service starts at 6. Ramen bowls, onigiri, chicken yakitori. There's DJs that play throughout the night as well. Uh, Great vibes, great music. If you're just coming here to chill or meet some other like music profound or listeners, this is the place for it. There's always something going on here. There's always something to do or just close out the night if you're getting off of work. And then with that, we're gonna open up with our quote for the episode. And this isn't really a quote from anyone, but one of my friends, one of my long distance friends, we were talking about Wander Over Yonder. I've mentioned Robert McCraig. I always forget his name. I'm sorry, but Robert, the guy who made Wander Over Yonder, Also made Kid Cosmic. We talked about that on one of the episodes. Uh, it was a quote. My friend said along the lines of, "Try to be friends with everyone, but you shouldn't be friends with everyone." And that kind of really tore down everything I had thought about meeting people, becoming close with people, and such. Because this was also during the time of we had just entered lockdown. I had just gone through a lot of, how would you say, social changes in my life with the introduction of this lockdown, where I kind of realized some friends who I thought were close to me were not as close to me, and the other way around, some people were much more willing to stick it out. Whether it's just not being able to talk face to face or whatever weird stuff, high school stuff was going on. That's kind of how I learned about the idea of lunch table culture, essentially. Now, why am I specifically bringing up lunch table here? Um, we'll get to that with the Yomanville Gang, because that's actually a big kind of setting that takes place in that comic. But what I want to tackle first is good friendships. I want to start it off with a good thing, and then we'll get into the boring, sad stuff later. But I'm going to talk about three songs from Palmer Means and Pelicans and Their Allies. I had the amazing pleasure of interviewing both of them in person. It was great. I asked them about these three songs, some other things about it. I'm not going to exactly be going over the interview I gave. Um, it was mainly just to get more of an understanding and helped with the script writing for this episode. This episode's been a long time in the making. I've been wanting to make this episode forever, and I had intentionally planned it to be made last year. But just a lot, as you already know, a lot of things got into the way, a lot of car problems. But we're going to start with Pelicans and Their Allies. And of course, all their works and such will be posted in the description of this video and the Spotify as well. But I want to start off strong with my favorite song by Mr. Pelicans here. And that is Just Like July. Just Like July is a song based off, partially based off of a movie. Uh, I believe the character was, it's an old cowboy movie called July Johnson, where he's just, "Oh, I'm so sad. I don't want to do anything. I don't feel like doing anything." That's the whole character. It's this sheriff of a town who doesn't ever want to get out, do anything with his friends, his family, his wife. It's not until his wife gets kidnapped or hoisted away or he gets out of the house and do stuff. I haven't had the opportunity to watch this movie yet, sadly. I was on the itinerary to do before this episode. Unfortunately, I did not get around to that. But what am I getting at here with July Johnson? And that's only half of the story here. Um, and one of the things I really like about Robert's music, or Mr. Pelicans, is specifically, it's, as I've said before with Kick the Robot, I really like music that's kind of left up to your own interpretation, or it's like a puzzle. You're supposed to figure out what it's about. With the music of Mr. Pelicans, he does everything he can to not say uh, what the song's about, essentially. Uh, I believe he told me it was word for word. Whatever you're trying to say in your writing, do everything you can to not say it. And that's every principle his music essentially follows. As he says, it's hiding in plain sight. Because if you listen to any of this music, you get this general idea from it that's just like, I get an idea of what this is trying to go over, the scope of it. But when you try to zero in on what it's exactly touching on, you get a little lost. And that's what I like about it. You're left with this little melting pot of, it could be anything in this pot, but it's, you take your ladle and you try to scoop up what you're finding and you get something else entirely. It's great. specifically Just Like July. This song goes over a concept entirely different from how I interpret it. Because to me, I relate a lot to this song, mainly just with the chorus, where it set a timer, set me straight, set a course, set the magistrate, along the lines of that. It Whenever that chorus comes on, it hits me like it's so strong, like a bell. It can crack the Liberty Bell, essentially. Um, I struggled a lot as a kid to get out of my chair. Whenever my parents wanted to go grocery shopping, wanted to go do anything, whenever my friends invited me to do stuff, I'd sit on my chair in front of a computer screen all day. I'd sit in the car and I'd go do groceries. Uh, I'm really ashamed of that. I look like, yeah, no, I was a dumb kid in middle school and high school, but when that pops into my head, those thoughts, I get really ashamed of it. Even though no one knows that about me except for Robert, and I guess anyone that will be listening to this episode now, I have never told anyone that. It was something I was so embarrassed about. I never wanted to talk about it. I legitimately had a screen addiction, essentially. I was just, if I sit in my chair all day, I'll be happy, I'll be relaxed, and it will be okay. Whatever problems I have will just disappear if I ignore it. That was not the case. My problems got worse. I was essentially running away. I was running in place. And this song really, really helped me come out to be more open about that experience. Like I'm a much different person I am now. Like no duh, no one's how they were in high school. But it doesn't change the fact I'm pretty embarrassed about it. So that was the first song I really wanted to open up about. Leave a strong point here. The next song I talked to him about was "The Captain," mainly because this was a song where my curiosity got the better of me, and I was like, I have to know what this is about. Please, please, Mr. Pelicans, tell me what it's about. This song's about a person who is not alive, very old person, a dude that lived on a boat, hence the name, the Captain. It is based off of a real person called Charles Borden. He's written, I believe, two books, and one of them is about a species of albatross, which is hence the lyric. Actually, no, I'm not going to tell you why. If you listen to this music, I want you guys to figure it out. I'm going to try to keep this as much of a mystery as possible. But what really struck me in this song was this one lyric was there's a feeling in the middle between the end and everything. It was kind of him trying to tell, not even kind of, it is him telling that being within nature brings him such a sense of calmingness. Like everything melts away, essentially. He actually has a second band called Popular. Very, very, very hard to pronounce. And the best way the music can be described is meditation for the trees. Very big nature guy. He has a blog where he talks about birds too. If you couldn't get by the band name Pelicans and Their Allies. But what it kind of astounded me was he found this through one of his jobs. He found this gentleman's letters, and basically got to read through his entire life of how he lived on this boat on this boathouse. Married a woman that loved boats as well, and for their honeymoon they sailed across the ocean to, I believe he said San Francisco. This was a big media thing, so this is documented within. He has a Wikipedia page too. I'll definitely leave that in the description as well. And just the story was so inspiring to him and connected to such a personal thing. He wrote a song about them, and just that, it really struck me. Just this man just lived his life, just loving what he did, and even after his death, even though he wasn't famous, he wasn't big, he didn't do anything crazy, he just enjoyed living life. His story was able to inspire from what I know, at least one person. And I have the incredible luck and fortune to have met that one person that was inspired by him to write that song. It it's weird how it just connects. It just clicks like a Lego pieces. They fit in seamlessly and such. I keep saying that. And then we're gonna go over the third song now. More Whatevers, which is another song about someone, which is about his best friend. It was a gift for his friend's 40th birthday, and within the interview, his friend gave a quote that Mr. Pelicans told me that really like hit very close to home with me. Was they were talking about a college class about some movies or whatever. Some guy was like says something about a movie, and then the professor laid into this dude, being like, "If your movie doesn't change the world, it's or making the world a better place, it sucks." And Mr. Pelicans was telling his friend about that, and his friend then responds with, "Well, I think a little fun makes the world a better place," and I absolutely love that quote. I was thinking about leading today's episode with that quote. Actually, it probably would have been better. But, what's two? What's two? So, within the song, it's 10 sets of whatevers. There's one I really like, which is 10 sets, 10 more cups of coffee. Weak enough to enjoy. Essentially, his friend makes coffee so weak that he loves drinking coffee. He drinks it all day, every day. So he has to make it so weak so the caffeine doesn't drive him crazy. As well as, it's just a single song. It's not part of any EP or album. But the cover for the song is actually him and his friend laying down on a patch of grass in a park, waiting to be eaten by vultures, as he told me. And I think this is just the perfect song to go over. To have this much appreciation, long-standing friendship with someone, to write a song about them is incredible. It's great. Like, I don't know if someone's written a song about me. I don't know if anyone's like sat down and done something and be like, you know how in movies or in books they're like, this is dedicated to da 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 da. It's like cat. Oh, sorry, the cat's got my tongue here, but it's. I've never really thought about it like that. To be the person that's inspires something like that. Like we hear about all these amazing authors, creators, directors, and all that, but we rarely so hear about the people that inspired those amazing pieces and such. Sorry, I must reach for my drink. Getting a little dry. I'm a big coffee guy too, but I don't think 10 cups of coffee kind of guy. But what am I getting at with talking about these three songs? Um, a lot of Robert's music, the reason why it connects with me on such a very personal level, is that a lot of his music goes over similar. I wouldn't say struggles, but I say concepts, thoughts, schools of thoughts that I have not felt so strong about, mainly because I've kind of been very hesitant, as I've talked about with Just Like July. Another thing being showing appreciation for people and even friends. Friendships is something I still struggle a lot with to this very day. And upon Robert coming to the open mic, sharing his music, finding about his band slowly, hearing everything, listening to his songs more and more and more, I found out about myself, really, in a sense. It made me more open to these ideas, made me more comfortable with all this stuff. That's why I'm so grateful to Robert's music. That's why I'm so grateful to Robert as a person and the collective Pelicans and their allies discography. There was another like 5 songs I wanted to go over But it's just I can only fit so much into this time frame without going on tons and tons of tangents. But to be inspired by someone, to be inspired by such a close friend, and have a song that had me find a new friend, essentially, is great. What about Palmer's music? Palmer Means. Talking about three of his songs as well. Where I said Pelicans and their allies go over concepts and such. Um, Palmer's music is a lot more outward. It's a lot more present. It's not really like a puzzle. However, if you have had a journey, quest, struggle, and such, that one of Palmer's songs goes over, it immediately just it reels you in. It's very violent. It's very quick, but it doesn't hurt. It's very comforting in a sense. What I mean by that is I want to open up about stand and talk, essentially. For a good part of my life, um, how do I phrase it? How do I phrase this? This was after the lockdown happened. I was struggling with a lot of friendships, relationships, romantic and platonic. And the biggest challenge was pride. It was ego. This was something I've been wanting to talk about on the podcast for a long time. The concept of like ego death or throwing away your pride. But in the song Stand and Talk, it opens up with the first part of being a message you need to send. You need to break the rules to bend it. Fence you need to mend. But you're, it's a song about trying to reach out to talk to someone, but your pride gets in the way. And at the end of the song, you cast it aside, change your stride, and you reach out to that person. I believe I talked about it once on this episode, but a while back, I took a trip to Colorado last year to reach out to a friend and essentially apologize. Not with the intention of reconnecting friendship, because I had fully been under the belief they would tell me to screw off. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. I was really happy that's not how it turned out. But it took a lot longer to do that. It took a whole year to do that. And it's because within that whole year, I had to struggle with this idea that, oh, I'm above it, or I don't need to do that. In all actuality, I was just lying to myself. And after a while, I got in that car, took that trip, made my apology, and on the drive back was the most relaxing 6-hour drive of my life. It was so soothing. I felt like I could breathe, like for the first time ever, without any trouble. It was great. And it was very strange to find Palmer's music through the open mic and someone who went through a very similar experience. 'Cause Palmer's interview was much different from Mr. Pelican's interview, where we talked more about our shared interests. Me and Palmer, we talked a lot about similar difficulties we've had and our path through life, essentially. It was a lot more, I would say, spiritual, where Pelicans and their allies, their music makes me feel more confident. Um, Palmer's music makes me feel less alone in the world. That, like, I'm not the only person who struggles with such concepts, journeys, quests, and such. I'm I'm at a lack of words here, but I hope you're getting the idea. Another struggle is I've talked earlier about screen addiction. I was glued to my computer all the time. The next song I'm going to be talking about is Counter, which is the first song I ever heard from Palmer. It's a song about substance addiction, and such. It's very obvious. It's not hiding it at all. It's very open about it, especially with the one lyric, "Break your streaks of 2 months sober." If I can't, uh, if I can't remember it, there's no problem at all. Not exactly verbatim, but there we go. Technical difficulties. I would like to take this moment to acknowledge the sacrifice of the frother and everyone's coffees moving forward for the rest of this episode. It's a necessary sacrifice, but technical difficulties are over. That's gonna be weird to transition when I record this, get to editing this episode. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings. I've told this story a lot to people, and even I still struggle to see or come to terms with where I fall on it. But I did a lot of wine drinking when I worked at B Dubs for almost 2 years. Went to a lot of parties with coworkers or friends and such. There it is again. But a lot of people say I was on the path to becoming an alcoholic. A lot of people say I was already there as an alcoholic. I don't know where to put myself on that spectrum, but all I can say is I wasn't happy where I was going. And funnily enough, at that time, that's when I found the kava bar, and that became my path of sobriety. Essentially, I say sobriety. I still go out to socially drink, but I can count on the number of my times last year I went out for drinks, which was 4, maybe 3. It was a long year. And as I said before, it's interesting to because like I've heard dozens and dozens of stories about people struggling with addiction, whether it be alcohol, substance, or whatever the case may be. It's a whole nother thing to get close to someone through music about that. As I said before, it made me feel a lot less alone in that because everyone has their uh, I'm just gonna keep using the word journey or path of fighting addiction. However, all of it's always a very different experience for everyone, and I feel like that's where it can make you feel pretty alone, where you can get the idea of I'm the only one in the world going through this right now, and that's a pretty defeating feeling. It's crushing, even. It's the basis for isolation even it can ruin someone. It's scary. So finding someone uh, that you can share that with, it takes such a weight off your chest. It's incredible. Another song, and the last song we're gonna go over before we transition to the comic, the Yomanville Gang, is "Each and Every Day," and it's a song I still. How would I phrase this? I've said that quite a bit today. It's still pretty prevalent right now in my life. As in, it's a song going over a time in Palmer's life where he felt like a completely different person. Uh, like, he was telling me about it in the interview where he's like, if I looked at myself back then, I would look like a complete stranger. My younger me would be a complete stranger along those lines. He was a completely different person when he wrote this song. But the song goes over, and this is going to be short and brief. The song goes over each and every day. I don't know the way, but I won't budge, and I'll just spread love. And that's what I'll do each and every day. Not verbatim, of course. But it really connects with me, because especially, I think it's funny because he told me he was around, if not the same age as me, 24, when he wrote this song. I believe he told me. Sorry, Robert. The two interviews were very different, as I had Robert do it through email because the notebook I had Robert's interview in was stolen, so I had him to do it in email. But Palmer's is in this notebook, the new notebook. Woo! I don't know if I talked about this. I probably did a few episodes back. So the notes here are a lot more different, as it was my own note taking versus Robert just typing everything out again because of some poor, unfortunate soul decided to steal my priceless writings. But back back to the song each and every day. That's how I feel. It's very like one foot in front of the other kind of idea, but not in the sense of like you just gotta up and at 'em, man, get to it. It's appreciating every single day, and what you do every single day, and just whatever you're doing, even if it's aimless, even if you're just drifting, it's great. It's nice. So sorry, I keep getting caught. I keep getting a lump in my throat here. I'm not doing this episode justice. This is a pretty big episode for me. But what I hope to get across is my life has significantly gotten better, and I've gotten a lot more confident in my beliefs, my philosophies, and just everything in general, just through their music. And this goes out for a lot of other friends who deserve to be talked about on this podcast. I just can't find the right, how would I say, medium for it. Not their works and their inspirations and impact on my life. I don't think are appropriate for the podcast. However, Mr. Palmer and Mr. Pelican's musics are. All right. So we talked about good friends. What about the other end of it? Bad friends. Lunch table culture, cliques, all that. This comic is The Yomanville Gang by Jason King. This series is finished, I believe, at a little over 150 chapters with a 3-season run. Whether it has physical copies or not, I did not look into that. We're going to be going over all of season 1, which is over the span of around 70 episodes, but we're going to be talking about the first 85 episodes because I believe within that scope, it goes over everything I need to talk about. There are a few characters I want to talk about. There's our main character, Layla, very shy, new girl to the school, whatever. There's Dylan, also one of the main characters to Layla. Layla and Dylan, those are the main characters. He's basically the guy that's been at this school, introduces her to the friend group. Within that friend group, we have Sally, a few other characters, but I'm not going to bother talking about them. And then there's 2 more characters, Mika and Kate. Now, what do I mean about bad friendships? What do I mean about good friendships? We're going to talk about it right now. We're going to finish the sandwich here so you can take a bite out of it. Essentially, when I talk about friendships, when I talk about lunch tables, it's kind of in a sense, tribalism, where it's you stay in one group and it's all the same idea. Anything outside of that lunch table, that group, if it doesn't agree with this, it's bad, it's evil, it needs to be removed, or something along that line of thinking. That is not okay. What do I mean by that? I always tell people when it comes to friendships, the one thing I most firmly believe is that you should always have friends who agree with you and disagree with you in a healthy way. In a healthy way. Because let's talk about the friends who agree with you. If it gets too extreme, it doesn't become agreeing or corroborating. It becomes enabling, essentially. Where if you are becoming delusional about something, they're like, oh yeah, no, you're in the right, or keep doing that. It becomes enabling. That's not good. That's not okay. Then there's the friends on the extreme who disagree with you. Rather than challenging or holding you accountable for what you may do, they can just outright send you to the other direction, constantly make you feel bad or belittled or angry. We're going to be talking about 2 people along those similar lines today, mainly being Sally and Kate, and somewhere in the middle, Mika. Boop, boop, boop. I didn't even realize I did that. But to give a little background, Layla, she's new to school, very shy girl. First day of school, gets introduced to the Yomanville Gang, hence the title, which is this group of four people. Yeah, it's four. There's Joe, Marv, Sally, Dylan. Dylan is the first to like bring her into the group, help her get more comfortable. Uh, you know, being the new girl, make her help her not be lonely or an outcast and such. Uh, this comic is very it's a rom com high school stuff. However, a lot of it's very Looney Tunes, very actually I feels more appropriate to say very Ed and Eddie slapstick kind of humor essentially. A lot of the jokes are I was reading through and a lot of the gags just made me like do a double take. I was like, I did not expect that. Got a few chuckles out of me. It's not my exact preferred form of comedy, but it did get a few chuckles. I wouldn't say this comic's my cup of tea, but I did like the story, or at least the plot that followed along in season one, which is mainly just Layla and Dylan building their relationship, building their friendship. However, there's a lot of things that get in the way of it, mainly being Sally, Kate, and Mika. While and it's not until about episode 70 we finally get to see who Kate is. Mika and Sally are a lot of more in the way of damaging that. Let's start with Mika, as if we start in the center, we can branch out both ways more naturally. I like to think Mika is someone who is an enabler and a bully. Uh, she's absolutely infatuated with Dylan. There's by the end of the season where there's the idea of like there's this big prom dance, and everyone wants to ask out their dates. Mika, her entire goal is to get Dylan to be her boyfriend, essentially. However, Layla is getting in the way because Dylan has feelings for Mika. So throughout the comic, we see her manipulate Dylan in a way to make him feel okay about pursuing her, and then making him feel bad about giving any attention to Layla, essentially. And she does the same with Layla, with bullying her, making her feel bad about wanting to pursue Dylan, and saying the right thing to do is just to keep you to yourself, stay out of my way, don't make any friends, essentially. Not good. You're starting to see where I'm getting at here with the middle. She's very manipulative, not a good person, very violent as well. She is very quick to attack, to jump to violence or bullying in a sense, whether it's verbal or physical. Uh, Eventually, she gets her comeuppance. The friend Sally reveals everything that's happening. Dylan finds out. She's kicked out. I say kicked out of the friend group. Not really part of the friend group, but Dylan just goes on to say, "I'm done with you, and if you apologize, an apology is not going to be enough." Now, there's Sally. Sally is doing her best to steer Dylan and Layla together to make them closer and help Layla feel more comfortable in the friendship. However, she pushes it a little too much. I like to call this careless kindness, essentially, where there's a lot of good intentions. However, it ends up having the opposite effect. Because the more and more she tries to push Layla, the more and more she feels uncomfortable about it. To the point where it has the opposite effect, where she doesn't want to get close to Dylan. She doesn't want to do anything. That's not a consistent variable, though. There are times where she pushes her into a situation, and it does work out, and it is good for Layla, and she thanks Sally for it. But there are times where it's not the right time and place for it, where Layla's very much like, I don't want this. I'm setting a boundary, and then Sally pushes that boundary, disrespects that, to the point where Layla's just, I don't want to open up to you. I don't want to do this. I don't feel comfortable with our friendship and such. She doesn't outright say this. Layla's a very shy person. She's a person living with trauma, PTSD, and a lot of just lack of self confidence. And a lot of that comes from her previous friend before she moved and changed schools, her friend Kate. Uh, I feel like I realize I'm moving a little fast here, more than usual for some of these comics, but it's the nature of this topic is pretty easy to ingest, I believe. But Kate is an old his Layla's old childhood friend. They've known each other since they were basically toddlers. However, through their entire friendship, they would be insulting, belittling our friend Layla here. Layla, all the way back from elementary school, even, it adds up, adds up, adds up, and she just takes it and turns the other cheek, essentially. And it gets to the point where she bottles this all up. That's not healthy. We talked about that last week. Bottles it all up and just decides to run away from it. She gets into an incident at a party where she gets a lazy eye, a scar that gives her a permanent lazy eye, and she hides it under her hair, thus being like a more outward, I guess you could say, symbolism even for her insecurity. She wants to hide her face. She wants to hide everything about her. She's so hesitant to open up to people because they don't respect her at all, either in a good connotation or bad connotation. They either don't respect her at all, or she tries to communicate the kind of respect or boundaries that needs to be respected, but people still push that even if their intentions are good. Hence, she doesn't want to show people her face. She just wants to disappear. She doesn't want to be involved at all. And the season finale of this show, show, the season finale of season 1 is Layla finally building up the courage to cut out Kate from her life. Just, hey, you've never been nice to me. You've never apologized for anything. You've never acknowledged my needs. And when given the chance to confront all this, Kate just turns it back on her, being like, I'm the victim. You've never been nice to me. You've never done anything for me. Just, that's bad. If you tell someone you've been hurt by something and they turn it around on you, that's a very telltale sign to, yep, that's it. We're done. I'm going to go on with my life and it's going to be without you. It's very important. And that's what Layla does. It's a very big moment for her. And it's with this moment afterwards, she's more willing to open up. She starts combing her hair to the side, putting it up with a hairpin. And she's trying her best to be more open about herself and to her friends. Being more open to Dylan. Dylan is a weird character because he's supposed to be portrayed as this loser, delinquent of the school, essentially. When we're sitting down with Layla, seeing the series from her perspective, everyone around the school does not like Dylan. They look down on him. They call him like a fool, an idiot, a delinquent, always getting in trouble, no good grades. This is someone who will be of no worth, essentially. However, Layla sees it differently. Dylan has been very welcoming. Dylan has messed up and hurt Layla, but he has taken accountability for it. And he has done effort to fix these things. Dylan, when pressing about things, about Layla opening up, Layla's like, I don't feel okay doing that. And Dylan then says, okay, I still want to talk about this. However, it will be on your terms, when you're ready for it and when you're okay with it. And that's how it happens. Layla begins this journey of opening up more, wanting to connect more with Dylan. And in a way begins developing feelings for him, as out of everyone in the series, he's been the only one to not just listen to Layla, but actually hear what she needs, what she says, essentially. It is properly processed into his head. And of course, this is a high school rom-com, so there's a lot of those awkward cringe moments. They're like, "Oh, look, it's the two people that are gonna get together. They're interacting. Ooh, it's so cute, and it's really awkward for them. But when you take out the awkwardness, the cringiness, and mainly just look at the dialogue purely, you get this sense of what a healthy conversation is for Layla, and she's a bit taken aback by it after season one, essentially, because throughout every conversation she has with Dylan, it usually ends with "I'm not really used to this," and Dylan goes, "How's that?" And it usually is followed up along something similar of, "I've never had someone listen to me like that," essentially. And that's essentially what a healthy friendship is. That's what Dylan is supposed to represent. You have these characters that are on either one end of the spectrum or a little bit in the middle, usually bad actors on the one side, but then you can get people like Sally who do want your best intentions, who are your friend, who are trying their best to make you happy. But sometimes it has the opposite effect. Sometimes you have people that you want to call friends or call them your friend, but that's not exactly the case. And then sometimes you have this weird area in the middle, like people like Mika, who you don't really know where it is. Uh, it's someone you want to be friends with, but they don't want to be friends with you, or it could be the other way around. Because towards the end of the series, when Mika gets, caught red-handed with all the stuff she does, Layla does try to make an effort to see it from her side and understand, and to the point where it almost feels like she tries to befriend her. I did not go past 100 episodes, so I cannot speak on that development as I don't know where that development goes. But there is that seed being planted at the beginning there, where I said earlier, with some people you have to absolutely cut out. You should try to be friends with everyone, but you can't be friends with everyone. And I believe that second part is true when you've exhausted every method to try to be friends with someone. Because just like everyone in high school, just like how I dealt with isolation, cutting everyone out of my life, everyone has a ton of BS they go through in high school. And that can cause them to do a lot of mean things or conditions them to being a mean person. And even in our 20s, and I'll probably say this going into my 30s, I will have a lot of BS that's going to influence me. But as we get older, as we mature, we find ways to not let that get in the way of our judgment, of making choices. And Layla's a bit ahead of the curb with all that. She tries her best to not let her trauma, not let bad friendships eliminate opportunities, cloud her judgment, or anything. Granted, she still suffers from the PTSD, and because she struggles to make friendships because of that. But she's very lucky to have friends that are willing to help her through that. I'm getting a little lost here, but what I'm trying to say is friendships, relationships are complicated. I've talked about a bit of relationships before, but I feel like there is a necessary episode to talk about friendships as well, because that is also just as important. One might even say that is more important, because you'll date a lot of people, but you'll only have one partner if you find the one. But with friends, there are many, many. They'll come and go. Some of them will stick with you forever. Some of them will stick for a while. Some of them won't stick at all. It's a very important bridge to learn how to navigate. You gotta find your lunch table, essentially. And I know that I said that's bad, but it's your community. Just like how I've found my community within the open mic, and I've met some amazing people like Mr. Pelicans and Palmer, and other people in the open mic as well. Layla has found some amazing people at her lunch table, which that's the reason why I went with the whole lunch table idea, because most of like the in between, like, all right, gang, let's get together, let's talk about what's going on, or funny quips happen here, and then they break off. It's usually at a lunch table at high school or some table where they're having lunch. It's a running gag in this comic, But I think it's more than a joke to me. I'm going beyond the joke here. I talked about that a lot. It's important to find that table where you're comfortable to sit down, eat with people, talk, joke, cry, everything. And yeah, don't get don't get stuck in tribalism, but be okay with your community. Be willing to branch out a little from that. You know, you know, and such. But keep saying these. But Dylan, even though he's portrayed as a loser, Layla, even though she's portrayed as a very flawed character, I think they're very healthy characters to look up to, especially if you're also a high schooler, middle schooler going into high schooler, because it's a very healthy representation of trauma or awkwardness and navigating that, essentially. It's not a solve all solution, but it's a very good example of it. And I think we're going to wrap it up there. We've kind of touched every point I wanted to today. So we're going to leave off with the usual stuff. We're going to leave off with two recommendations. Uh, these recommendations are from Palmer and Mr. Pelicans themselves. Mr. Pelican's recommendation was Call It Dreaming by Iron and Wine. And Mr. Palmer Means' recommendation was Heads Roll Off from the Tiny Changes album. I listened to both of these. I love these songs. I say from the album because that album, Tiny Changes, I was looking at it. It's a various artists album. So I unfortunately forgot to write down the guy who wrote the song, but you can find that song from the Tiny Changes album. Heads will roll off. They will, of course, as always, be in the description of the videos and the Spotify as well. And before we close out, next week's episode is going to be postcards. It's going to be a very different episode. This is an episode I've been wanting to do as well. These last 5 episodes, you can expect them to be me cleaning up the rest of my notebook about stuff I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Needed a lot more time to be written, get figured out, essentially. But it's going to be a much more reflective episode rather than like here's some food for thought episode. So just bear that in mind for next week. But with that, thanks for listening. I'll call it there.